Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps. It is I, your host with the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can. And oh, yeah, your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the Yard Streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind presented to you by Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off. Yeah. Sorry, a little banged up here. It's not just me, Patty P, here in the Yard of Streams. I'm joined as always by the best of the West. You can't forget about Sarah Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey yo.
Hello.
Hello. I have to wave with this arm today. We're banged up. The champ is banged up, Sarah. The diagnosis came in, and we do have a sprained AC joint from taking 4 bumps at work. So
You
I'm
fell 4 times?
Yeah, I fell 4 times at work in 2
From
weeks.
what?
So the first time was just there's a wet corner. I slipped and fell.
I'm not trying to laugh. It just is.
No, it's funny. No, don't play that card of like I don't want. No, it's fucking funny. Okay, I get it.
But you're hurt, so I shouldn't laugh.
But I'm here to tell the tale, so you can laugh because I'm laughing at this point because it's ridiculous. Second time was I was trying to put some shit in the freezer, and we have a little lip that goes up to our freezer, similar to how like the old Astros center field was. Like, picture that going into like a so it's just a bitch to get into. And then the third time was the one that really did it. Was I fell off a tote. I fell off like a little ledge, and I was writing on a board, and like I landed awkwardly. So yeah,
You get mad when you fall, like I do. Like
the
I
first
get
2,
mad.
no, not like. See, the first time I laughed. Like the first time I was like, all right, it's slippery. But then the third time, like when I fell for the third time, I was pissed. I was like, this needs to fucking stop. I was so mad at that point because I was just like, I've fallen so many times.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
And I wanted to play that card. I really did.
Have you seen that episode of Rugrats where the grandpa or the old man keeps falling in the attic and he's like, I broke my schmaginky.
Yes.
I still don't know what a schmaginky is.
No, I remember that word. And I was like, the hell is he saying? That's even too non-typical for me.
I don't know, but it's his schmaginky. So I don't know.
What is your schmaginky? Let us know in the comments below. What you think your schmaginky?
Schmaginky.
I'd spell that. That would be a hell of a word to try to spell.
We have a bunch of people saying hi, by the way. We got a lot of peeps in here.
We got a lot of peeps in the chats. Let's hear from them.
What's going on?
Sup, Jay. David was popping. Lenice.
What is going on?
Lenice. Dickie. Sup, y'all. Raw was good. Great word. I think that is a accurate word for Raw yesterday. What's up, guys? Watching CFB rankings reveal. Oh yeah, that's this week. And congrats to yeah, they're doing the college football playoff picture tonight.
And thank you, Bernard.
Final boss. I like the photo. It's different.
Showing a little chest.
Speaking of that outfit, I rewatched the last 5 minutes, or the best 5 minutes of WrestleMania the other day when I was at the gym to get me hyped up, and it fucking worked.
I still haven't watched it back since we.
Oh my god, Sarah! I have goosebumps every time I rewatch the 5 minutes of mayhem of Solo into Cena into Rock, and like it's so good. And every time the Shield popped, like when you hear the music, Shield, I think back to how ridiculous and how you can just think the most absurd things when you are truly in the moment at at a wrestling show, anything, whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
because
Ambrose.
I still think Ambrose was there. I was like, he's
I know.
coming in,
I know.
and he was in Japan. Um, like incredible. You need to rewatch that. Like especially, that might be before we head on our journey to Mania. Rewatch the last five, like the main event. Main event. Watch the whole thing 'cause it's 9 hours, but watch the main event at least. What up, Unhinged main event Fro? I'm feeling an Unhinged era main event Fro. I'm kind of in that with you, man. Um, okay. Unhinged main event Fro with $3
Thank
dono.
you.
Hell yeah. My birthday is this Thursday,
Oh my gosh.
Lenice.
Happy early birthday. It was just my birthday last week.
You have a car.
And fellow Scorpio. We love it.
And what was I gonna say? Shit. Yeah, Thursday. Great. Happy birthday. Joe. Oh, that's what I was gonna say, because Thursday we'll be back.
Yeah.
Hang on your birthday.
Yep,
I'll
we will
sing
be live on Thursday.
to you. I will sing happy birthday to you. That is my promise to you. Uh what's
What
up, Vinny? How you doing? Um so I don't want to go right into it because I do want to bring this point up, and we kind of said it already and we've been bringing it up, is that Raw was just good this week. It wasn't insane and have to talk about it, the water cooler. It was just a good show, and I feel that I've said this repeatedly for a number of weeks now, that Raw is just consistently good. The 2 hours, I didn't agree with you last week, but it's starting to not get to me, but it's starting to sink in and really hit that wow, 2 hours is not enough, and that sounds crazy coming from a wrestling fan, that 2 hours of Monday Night Raw is just not enough, because it isn't. With the amount of talent they have, I believe that what they did with the social clips, with Karrion Cross, the Judgment Day, and the War Raiders, our truth. I mean, that was hilarious. Like, they're finding other avenues to get them on screen and, have your screen time, to say the least. But it isn't hitting the same, and it makes the Netflix deal that much more exciting.
Mhm. Well, and I that's why I was saying, like, some really good stuff has been happening in their social clips. And that's why it's like unfortunate that we're not seeing it, because as I said, everybody doesn't have Twitter. Everyone doesn't have access to YouTube. So like
Unfortunately.
some of this stuff is really good and
Mm,
we're not seeing it on TV. We're not hearing about it because, there's kids that watch and they don't have access to social media or the internet, or
you know,
there's going to be people who have TV but they don't actively look online. So it's like you're I said this before we went live, but it's alienating a quite a large part of your audience. So that's the unfortunate part. And then as I said, it's like there are really good segments that are happening, like the clips with Karrion Cross or that promo from Ludwig Kaiser. It's like those are things that would be so good on TV, and they just don't have the time to do it. And so that's the part that kind of drags Raw down a bit. But we only have what, like 7 more weeks of this or something.
yeah,
So
we've got through more than a decade worth of Raw of
yeah.
being 2 hours. We can get through 7 more weeks. It just sucks. It really sucks because it is good right now. I'm complaining here that it's 2 hours is too short, where I want more. And for years, I was just praying that they would realize that 3 hours is too long.
But see,
You like the dichotomy
it's
there.
so different now though. That's the thing, is
So
like
different.
it's not I think it's not even just like like Triple H is in charge, so for the most part things are more interesting because I wouldn't say that everything about the Triple H era has been great. There's definitely a lot of
Yeah,
problems with that.
no.
But the
Absolutely.
episodes of Raw specifically have been far more watchable from beginning to end since he took over than it had been in the years before that. And it's like it's not just that. I think it's also they have a really good roster right now. And like you want to see a lot of those people on TV every single week because you like them or you hate them and so you love to hate them or you're really interested in that story or this person's development because they were just called up, like whatever it is, there's a lot of things that you want to see, and that is what it feels like you're missing out on because we
Mhm.
don't have that extra hour. Where I agree with you in like what 2013, yeah, take that third hour away,
Oh
bro.
my god.
But that
It
was when they
was
were really like, scratching at the bottom of the barrel for stuff. Because, like, no disrespect to those people, but obviously they didn't have, a Cody Rhodes. They didn't have a, like, this version of Roman Reigns. They didn't have a super active John Cena and whatever. Like, they didn't have these locks the way that they do now. And
well,
so
it was
even if
only
you're not
John
a
Cena.
yeah, and so,
Only John
like,
Cena.
it was a lot more difficult for them on top of, like, the storylines and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense why people are a little bit more upset that the third hour is gone now, whereas opposed to like 10 years ago, they would have been like, yeah,
Their
take
mid
it away.
card their mid card now is so deep
Mhm.
that it actually would have made I would say a majority of them would main event in the 2010s,
Well, there's an argument to
or
be made
should
that
have.
their mid-carders aren't even really mid-carders, that they're, like,
They're
on
not.
the fringe of being main eventers. It's just that they don't have enough space on that shelf for them to all be considered main eventers,
Look at the
because
Street Profits.
well, LA Knight could be considered a mid-carder. He's a US champion. That's not a top-tier title, but, like, would anyone really say that LA Knight's not a main eventer? Like, I don't think anyone would complain about seeing LA Knight in the main event, you know? So it's
Mhm.
stuff like that where it's like, you know, that makes it a little difficult too to not have that third hour on Raw because of people like that.
Mhm. Exactly.
Um okay. Anyway, let's just get
Mm.
into Raw then. I was just trying to look at the comments really quick.
Yeah, I figured.
Um So, I surprisingly didn't really see any spoilers. I actually saw this spoiler because they did tape Raw in Saudi Arabia before they left. So I did see the spoiler for this, unfortunately. But if that was the only thing I saw, then that the internet has come a long way because when I tell you
Good job, Sarah. I'm gonna give you
everything
props for that.
used to be spoiled for me,
Pretty
I'm
quick.
not lying. It was like literally every single second of a show was, and people are doing like really good about not being that way right now, or at least the accounts that usually do that. I'm
See,
not
it's all
seeing.
about who you follow. It's all
Yeah.
about who you
So, well, I
follow.
follow aggregator accounts, and I think that they're trying to be respectful until they know that, like, oh, okay, it's being shown now. That's when they'll start saying things, but not really like, oh, they already filmed it 8 hours ago. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. But anyway, so now that Rhea Ripley, because this was the thing. Let's address this first, in case people are not aware, which I
Let's
assume
address it. Let's
I
talk
assume you
about it.
might. But it's just because the last week we were talking about the Rhea Ripley injury angle. And because Liv and Raquel attacked her in the parking lot at NXT, the infamous NXT parking lot, and then it was revealed that she had a legitimate injury, like the orbital bone fracture, and the X-rays were posted, and we were like, okay, they're saying these are legitimate X-rays, but like unless you're a medical professional, you don't really know what you're looking for. So
Yeah.
that was when Rhea reposted it and did the circle like above her eye. And then we were like, when did this happen? So, in case you guys
It
did not
was
know, the current belief is when she headbutt Liv on Raw, that is when she broke her orbital bone, like in her eyebrow area. So,
oh, I
I
also saw too that it was when Liv hit her with the knees. She got hit with a move to the knees
it's
as well.
okay, because I didn't see that. I just saw the headbutt. Regardless, I think that it just needed to like be
Whole segment.
clarified because people need to stop attacking Liv for things like this because it's like everybody started to jump on her back and assume that she did something to her again. And it's like we get it. The whole thing that happened around WrestleMania was an accident. Liv wasn't trying to hurt her. Obviously, it just happened.
Yeah. No.
So if it happened again, Liv is not known for hurting people. But when you look at the headbutt, girl, yeah, no wonder you broke that bone. You know what I mean? Like, she really goes at it when she does that
Yeah.
headbutt. So,
What's freaking terrifying move
it
to
really
take.
does. And sometimes the sound is very loud.
The sound
So,
freaks me out sometimes, depending on how
yeah,
well it's done.
I
It
know.
really does.
So anyway, so now that we know that Rhea is officially out of the picture for a while, because I don't know if she has to have surgery or what it is, but we know that she's out indefinitely. So who knows how long that'll be. Liv has no number one contender. She has no new rival. And so WWE is like, you know what? All right, we are going to do a battle royal to determine who the number one contender was going to be, because why wouldn't they do a battle royal for a women's championship number one contender? That is the thing that they love
Well,
to
where
do.
where was the show?
Sorry, but you know what I'm saying.
There
Still,
you
but they
go.
did
No,
it.
there
They
you
did it.
go.
Well, they did it with Liv and Becky and whatever. So that's what I'm saying. Like, but
They
anyway,
just do it when it's just like, we can't connect anything. Nothing makes sense. Let's just go to the drawing board and throw everybody in there.
yeah. And there was a lot of people that were hoping for certain women to win. Like Lyra was a big name that I was
Lyra's a
seeing.
big game.
Um, I was mostly seeing Lyra and Io. Unfortunately, Io
I
won.
wanted to see Natty. My girl Natty should have got it, but
Okay, calm down. I'm okay with it being Io, and the main reason is I don't necessarily think that she's like the best person to be the number one contender right now, simply because they've had her so focused on the tag team division with Kairi Sane, obviously. So it's kind of like, oh wow, that's quite a shift, you know. However, someone made this point online, and I agree with them totally, that it is time for Liv to have a solid match when she's defending her championship. Everybody was roasting her and Nia for their match at Crown Jewel. I really did not think it was as bad as people were trying to say that it was.
that was fine.
I think they went into it thinking it was going to be a hot mess, and so they were looking for evidence to back that up, and so that any tiny thing that they could pick apart and further their argument, that was what they were doing. Because I'm not saying it was perfect, I'm not saying it was incredible, I'm not saying it was a history making match, but it wasn't bad. Liv deserves to have a really good title defense, and going against a person like Io Sky, I feel like gives her a really good opportunity to accomplish that, because they're similar size, their styles are not the same, but they're not super different.
No, they're
And
not
we
super
know that they
different.
both are solid in the ring. Obviously, Io is better because hello, it's Io Sky. But I think that that's what makes Io like an interesting opponent for her. And we know she's not going to win. Liv is not going to lose anytime soon. But if Liv can put on a solid match with somebody like Io Sky, then I think it'll kind of get people to shut up about, you know, how she's wrestling or her title defenses are lame, whatever. Like, that will kind of quiet them for a bit.
Yeah, it's because of all the dirty finishes,
I know,
pun
but the thing is
intended,
she's
that
a
is going on.
heel. Like,
So yeah, exactly. So that's what's gonna happen. She's gonna put on good matches and good defenses. She has Raquel there. Like they're recreating the HBK Diesel. I'm sorry. Like it's blatant in front of us.
well, it's
Diesel's the
also,
enforcer. HBK was the heartthrob. All right.
but like, let's look
Come
at not
on.
even that far along ago, and I'm not comparing them. However, I was one of the people that complained later on, but it was almost 4 years of Roman Reigns getting help to retain his title. I don't recall this many people coming for him about it. You know what I mean? Like, I
It,
was one of the vocal people in the
you were
last like
very vocal.
year
I
of
want.
his reign, and that was just because it's like, all right, at this point you've already been champion for almost 4 years. Like, why are you still predictably
That
getting
was
help? That was
that was yeah.
but that's the thing, that's different. She's only been champion for a few months. Like, why are you complaining? But people aren't digging it,
My
you know?
my thing is, who else? Like, who else is gonna be world champion right now? Do you
That's
want
what
Io Sky?
I
Yeah,
know.
right now, I would like to see her win it, But should she have been world champion throughout? No, she should not have.
Yeah.
Maybe now she does win it, and it's, because a lot of people, Sarah, a lot of people are saying they want Io to
Io's
take
not
the
winning.
title. I know she's not, but
She
they
was also just
want.
champion on SmackDown for a year. Like, I don't think
They
people remember
they
that.
cannot break up. I said this recently. You cannot break up Damage Control by
No.
throwing a world title in there.
You
They're
also
still the
can't
Sky Pirates.
you also can't take the title off Liv right now when they just brought Raquel in,
Exactly. You have
and
to
like,
build the women's tag division too. The women's tag division is at its best
yes.
in a very long time, courtesy of Bianca and Jade,
Yeah,
obviously, and
and
a
we'll
few
talk about them.
supporting
There was
cast
some
members.
there was something else that I wanted to say about this too. And now I can't remember. Oh, now I remember. Okay. So I don't know. I'm probably gaining a reputation as a uh Liv Morgan defender, but I think it's just because like I just don't think that some of the things that people are saying about her or her title reign are very fair.
Yeah.
And I loved that Big E brought that up in the post show of Crown Jewel. That he was like, everybody is always talking about who you're with and who you're kissing and what you're doing, but they're not talking about how many hours and days you have spent with like Natalia and, TJ Wilson at their school and training, and, you have a ring in your backyard. Like, they're not talking about all this hard work that you're putting in. And I would really appreciated him highlighting that, because so many people want to talk about how she wrestles and say that she can't wrestle or she sucks and she's this and that. And it's like, you don't have to like her style. You don't have to like her character. You don't have to like the way she defends the title or how she wins or whatever. But you can't ignore her putting in the work and like how much this means to her and how passionate she is about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she is one of the few that are currently in WWE that actually grew up wanting to be a professional wrestler. A lot of
Yeah,
them are
it's
former
the best.
athletes.
It's
Yeah.
the best when they are former fan turned into wrestler, because that's the dream
Yeah.
coming full circle.
Yeah, because a lot of them right now, and no shade to them, but a lot of them are former athletes that were trying to figure out a way to further their careers athletically. And WWE was like, hey, you want to come wrestle? And they're like, sure. So Liv is one of the few that are actually like, no, I grew up wanting to do this. And so
Mhm.
she's not just going to slack off and, like not want to live up to.
Take it for granted.
Exactly. And so that's why I really appreciated that Big E brought that up, because I feel like it's sad how much people feel like they need to defend her because of, the criticism of her goes beyond, oh, I don't like her character. Oh, I'm so sick of her getting Dominic's help. Like, when it starts to go beyond that, that's when it starts to be like easy for me to step in and be like, okay, guys, like,
Oh,
let's
no.
calm down. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So okay, yeah, let's just jump right into this too. Because I see you guys already talking about it, so that way we can just look at your comments and talk about it as well. So we see that it looks like we're getting the development of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, which I am intrigued by, because Jade and Bianca have basically faced every women's tag team that exists right now, other than like the forced ones that they'll be like, oh, it's Natalia and I don't know, like fucking Nikki Cross.
Nick,
You know what I mean? Like,
Nikki ASH
yeah,
making a guest appearance.
yeah, like other than those types of tag teams, they basically already like defended the titles against them. So it's like, all right, well, what are they going to do? Because they're having them on Raw and SmackDown to continue uplifting the women's tag team division. And now we have this powerhouse team of the women's world champion and her bodyguard, Raquel Rodriguez. So why not start some sort of beef with them? That's really good to have Bianca and Jade featured on Raw, because we have to remember that they are the tag team champions and they're going on Raw and SmackDown. They represent both brands. But I think it's also interesting to see the development of Liv and Raquel's relationship, and like having Liv dabble in other things than just her title. That's something that people have been really critical of, that they felt like the storylines that she's been involved in did not revolve around the title. Okay, well, they're doing something with that, obviously, with the Io Sky thing. But it's interesting to also have her kind of move over and get involved in like a tag team storyline. So I'm kind of intrigued.
I'm intrigued by this because it says to me that this isn't really about Liv and Raquel. The focus isn't on them. They're just adding fuel to the fire, and the fuel to the fire being the inevitable breakup of Bianca and Jade. We
Mm-hmm.
already heard Liv tease it the other night, saying that Jade is just using Bianca as a stepping stool, this, that, and the other thing. I can see this. I saw this coming as soon as they teamed up, to be honest with you. That this, all right, this is just temporary. This isn't gonna be like a New Day thing where you're together for 10 years or whatnot. Like, this is building for them to battle it out. Maybe even at WrestleMania, if they really want to push it that soon.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's at least some room to maybe even push it until, actually, no, WrestleMania is the perfect time to do it. Now that I think about it. Because, yeah, Survivor Series, Royal
Can you
Rumble. Yeah, we have
imagine
3.
Jade versus Bianca at WrestleMania?
Like, bro, I'm telling you, that would be fucking sick.
It would
And
also be a really cool way for them to go kind of like, they're not really doing this, but knowing what we know, it could kind of almost be like mentor versus mentee, because that
oh,
was
a
kind of
thousand
it was
percent.
kind of why they paired Jade with Bianca to begin with, just to be like, okay, let's get her acclimated to being in WWE by pairing her with like the most over girl on the roster right now.
I totally agree. I just had a brain blast of a thought. What, and I need to get it out. So, what if because going off of your mentor mentee thing, how soon do you think mid card titles are being introduced to the women's division?
You know what I wouldn't be shocked about?
So I say it.
The Netflix debut. Because they're
Oh,
they're trying to make that Raw like humongous.
oh, that is must see
Yeah.
ass on couch.
Yeah. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they try and do something like on that episode, because that feels huge. That feels like a huge moment for the women's division, and like a huge moment to put on a show that they're trying to gas up as like the best Raw episode ever, or like the biggest one ever. Like Triple H unveiling a new mid card title seems like
What
a perfect
if
place.
what if this is all a mentor mentee for Jade Cargill to become the first women's US champion
Well,
or
and if that's the
women's
case,
intercontinental champion
I would
or
love
whatever?
for them to do that at Mania, like to crown them the first mid card champion at Mania for
That'd be
Raw.
a cool moment.
Yeah, because then it's like
That'd
that
be a cool
could
moment.
mean that they don't have to be enemies necessarily. So that would mean maybe they don't introduce it at Raw. They introduce it like, I don't know, maybe they do it before
Elimination.
Elimination Chamber, and then Elimination Chamber is kind of treated as a way to get in. I don't know, whatever. They'll do it before Mania, but then they'll do a tournament or something. And then it's like, oh my God, it comes down to Jade and Bianca. Like, what are they going to do? Like it doesn't mean that they have to feud, because if they don't want to do it that way, it could just be like, oh my gosh, we're getting Jade versus Bianca. I don't know that anyone would care if neither one of them was considered a heel. You know what I mean? I feel
No,
like,
it's their stars. At
yeah,
that point, between Bianca and Jade, there's no heel face there. Those are two stars facing off, and that's what you want to have at
yeah.
a pay-per-view
Well,
or a
and that's
pay
kind of how
show.
they went about it with Sasha versus
Yes.
Bianca.
Fuck
So,
yes. Oh,
oh, that,
Lash.
yeah,
Oh,
that was not bad.
actually, I'm gonna step back and
Yeah.
that would slap.
That
Lash Legend.
that could be interesting too,
Girl.
because that might bring up some drama with Bianca, because Bianca loses or something and Jade continues. It's the same thing, like mentor seeing the mentee continue and not them. So definitely would be interesting. I would be into that.
I'm very into that. I
Um,
We have comments too that I want to get
okay,
to.
go ahead.
Um, Sophia, Patty Pitts. That is my name. Thank you for tuning in. Actually, this is awesome. I'm very happy you stumbled upon us and are watching us right now. Um, yeah, but here's the thing, Final Boss. Bianca is above it, but you need a legitimate star to legitimize the title. So a win over said legitimate star makes that title legitimate. Thank
Well,
you.
and I think she's not going to be in the women's title picture soon. I mean, they have a thing going right now on SmackDown with Nia, with Tiffany. You know, it seems like Bianca's not going to be thrown into that mix yet. I mean, even Naomi is kind of like around it also. So I don't hate Bianca going like toward the mid card if she's not going to be involved in, like, if she's going to lose the tag team titles or something, then go put her in the mid card.
You're not wrong, Jay. I do see what you're saying that he isn't like about the fighting like immediately. Triple H does like to let that tension build up, as we've seen with the New Day inevitable breakup
But they've been
being
together a lot
foreshadowed.
longer.
Well, I mean, you could have done this in another era. I'll say this would have been signed, sealed, delivered in
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
This is being done to perfection. It's an unbelievable slow roast of this. So yes, something like this I could see, but the slow roast still. I mean, we're November, December, January, February, March, April. We're 6 months away from
Well,
Mania.
5 months, but yeah.
It's a potato.
It's
Okay.
we're already in November.
But it's still fifth. Whatever. Doesn't matter. No point. Damage Control should win the titles at some point, but not right now. All right, Jay. And then Jackson, about your Rumble winner, boy howdy, did I just put a topic in for Thursday that I saw on Twitter that I want to discuss. I don't have a feeling one way or the other yet, but I like the idea. So if that doesn't make you tune in Thursday, we got a couple more reasons coming at you. So yeah, that's all we got for comments here.
Okay. So then we see the Wyatt Six.
Yay!
They release another
VHAs, VHAs.
VHS tape since kidnapping the Miz last week.
Just
And yeah, so we're seeing the progression of that. And they kind of, I mean, although we kind of already knew why they were interested in the Miz, they confirm it in this video. So the Miz is like, like trying to make sure that they know, like, I'm not really with the Final Testament, because that's what he thinks the problem is. They let him know,
so
no,
naive.
brother, that's not our issue. It's all of the people that you have turned your back on and all of the pain you have caused people that were close to you. So this isn't ending anytime soon. And I'm here for it because, one, I love, we've talked about this already. We love heel Miz.
Yo,
So,
Miz is the best Miz.
well, you love to hate heel Miz, honestly.
Heel
Yeah.
Miz is awesome.
So I love that, first of all. But second of all, I like that this is gonna be another one of those things that's like a progressing storyline. Like, they're not overusing the Wyatt Six, which we said was really important. But they're sticking to the theme of who they're going after. And it's really easy for people to support them because it's easy for people to hate The Miz. And if you've been watching The Miz throughout his entire WWE career, you know how many people he's turned on, as early as turning on Johnny Nitro, John Morrison. You know,
John, oh my god.
they were like the original tag team.
Ow.
Had the Dirt Sheet
I
show, which was phenomenal, might I add.
It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, I actually remember John's rap. You remember when they were feuding with Crime Time and they did a rap video?
I kind of do, yes.
I
remember it
have
happening.
John Morrison's rap memorized. So
I think that'd be a great TikTok.
I know, I just thought about that. Okay, well maybe I'll do it. But anyway, so yeah, this was cool. I'm glad that they're going back to the VHS thing, and I love that this is gonna keep going. I'm curious to see like where it goes and how far they take it because of how far they took it with Chad Gable.
They took him pretty far with Gable,
Yeah. But
knocking
I
that
mean,
man
this is
out.
pretty far already because they kidnapped him. But it's like,
They did commit
but
that. Yeah, they
where
did
do you
kidnap
go?
him.
Where do you go from
Yeah,
here? Because it looked like they almost committed a felony with Chad
committing
Gable.
crimes on wrestling TV. That's what
Yeah.
professional wrestling is
So
all about.
technically, they broke the law by kidnapping him. However, it's like, okay, where do you go from here? Like, how are you going to try to send your message to him beyond kidnapping him and telling him like, hey, you know what you've done is bad. Like, I'm curious
Yeah.
to see what they do.
Even, I mean, who better to do it than Loomis? Kidnapped him
Hmm.
the first time.
Hmm.
I am excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Um, I agree with the Miz turning on R-Truth as well.
Hey, you too, Sophia. Thank you. And Patty Pitts. Maddie's my brother.
Oh. And then this was announced on social media yesterday, but they also touched on it during Raw, unfortunately. And so we found out that 78-year-old Goldberg wants one more match. And he saw that John Cena will be retiring in 2025. Also, we can really hear your TV. At least I can.
What is it
Sometimes
saying? I don't know.
sometimes your microphone like picks up everything in the background, and then other times it doesn't at all. It's very weird.
All right. Well,
Um,
I'm just trying to have some sort of yeah.
no,
Whatever. Continue.
I get it. Okay, so Goldberg wants to infringe upon John Cena's moment by
Yeah.
retiring in
Fucking rude,
2025.
Goldberg.
And
Fucking rude.
he now is like, hey, I'm gonna do it, a deal is done, so WWE is going to let him have this like ceremonious retirement match apparently. And I don't really feel like this is something that needs to be done. I don't think that we need to act like anyone cares, but it's gonna happen unfortunately. And the main thing is they even talked about this on Busted Open. And I agree completely with Bully and Tommy Dreamer that no matter who he faces, Goldberg needs to lose. I have almost no faith in that coming true, okay? Because when I think about Goldberg, other than the recent stuff that he did, you know, I don't know, taking the title off of Bray Wyatt, which was absolutely fucking ridiculous, but I every time I think about Goldberg, I just always hear Scott Hall. Okay, Scott Hall was always talking if he got asked about Goldberg. Goldberg is the biggest mark, but he's a mark for himself. And I believe him because Scott like did not lie about this type of stuff. Okay. So do I believe a guy who gasses himself up more than anybody else will be willing to lose in his retirement match? No. But I think no matter who he faces, because we've already, you know, there's rumors of who he could face. There's Bronson Reed, there's Braun Strowman, there's Braun
I don't want to
Breaker,
see Braun
there's
Strowman versus Goldberg
there's
again.
Gunther, which they already
I
teased.
mean, those
It
seeds
does,
have been planted.
I know, but it does not matter who he faces. He has to put them over. You do not need to win your retirement match. Kurt Angle didn't win his retirement match, and he's a bigger legend in WWE than Goldberg is. So it's like if Kurt Angle was willing to put someone over who just got released, by the way, you can do that no matter who you face. So I feel like if they're gonna go about this and like make this a big deal, and if it especially if it's Gunther, and I'm biased, but I would be the same. Like I don't even care about Braun Strowman, but I would be defending Braun Strowman in the situation. Goldberg has to lose. End of story.
Goldberg, yeah, I'm not yield to redundancy. I have
Yeah.
nothing else to add. Of course, he needs to lose.
Um. You know what? Scott Hall was a legend. Okay.
Yo,
That's
Final Boss does make a good point. He did tase him, one of the worst effing finishes. But
I don't care. Okay. Scott Hall is a legend. But
well,
that's
do you defend the finger of doom? The,
well,
I just want to know where your line is. I know what it
that
was.
wasn't Scott Hall though.
I know it wasn't, but I'm just trying to see where
Um
your line is.
I mean
Where is your line?
I would have to think about that because I feel like there was a bigger reason behind why they did that. And then maybe it was for the greater good, you know?
Look at
But anyway,
you. Look at
anyway,
you.
so it'll be interesting to see how they go about this. I just really don't want them to really like hype this up like as many people care in the same way as like John Cena retiring. You know, like the only reason why this is a thing, I feel like, no disrespect to Triple H, but it feels like Triple H is really just trying to be like good with all the boys. You know, it's kind of like why Jesse Ventura all of a sudden is back in WWE after like
Which is
30
awesome.
years. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like, and then it's like Goldberg is coming back after how many years and like almost killing Undertaker. It's like, yeah, but let's bring
He
him
did
back.
almost kill. He did almost kill Triple H's best man.
And
So,
he took the
or
title off.
groomsman. He was groomsman.
He took
Groomsman.
the title off of Bray Wyatt. Like, come on now. So I'm saying like
Yeah.
there
Fuck
isn't any
Goldberg.
there isn't anybody sitting there like chomping at the bit, like wanting to see a final match with Goldberg. So because it inevitably feels like it's going to be Gunther, it cannot be for the title. Or if it's for the title, brother, you ain't winning. You're 79 years old. You do not need to win at all. Be a true wrestling like
Legend.
mentor type of guy.
What
Be a team
happening?
player and lose.
Triple
Um,
H is not going to put Goldberg over in his era.
I'm
He didn't put him
hoping
over
that's true,
then,
but
and he's not putting him over now.
I'm just saying we don't have anything to look back on with a person like Goldberg in the Triple H era to say that definitively. So that's why I'm saying, like, do I think that Triple H is going to let that happen? Not necessarily, but I don't have anything to tell me that he won't. You know what I'm saying? And plus, Goldberg thinks he's the shit. So do I think that he's going to be cool with losing and putting somebody over? He might have a huge issue with that because he did not that long ago. He always has had an issue with that. So, I mean, he still talks about people breaking his streak and shit. Like, brother, grow up, move on. No one cares. But yeah.
Okay.
Come on, seriously. Were you a Goldberg fan growing up? You were, weren't
Yes,
you? Of
I
course you
love
were.
Goldberg. He just
Shut
spears
up.
people and hits the
You're really
jackhammer.
going to pick Goldberg over Gunther?
No, I'm not saying no. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Growing up, I love Goldberg. He was the shit. He would just spear people, whatnot. As you evolve into the champ of the peeps wrestling fan that I am, you realize, okay, he was for the simple-minded wrestling fan.
Well, yeah. That's because
He's not
yeah.
for us. Like
Um
that's very VIP to say, but I'm a very important Pitts. So there you go.
yeah, he should have been WWE champion too, but I guess that we're just going to talk about, he was a great
He should have
intercontinental
been
champion.
Roshi. He should have been. He embodies the Intercontinental Championship.
No, I know. That's the thing. I think that people kind of like overlook him when they talk about it because they're always like Shawn Michaels. And I'm like, and who gave him those best matches for the Intercontinental title, guys? Like, you're leaving out his dancing partner who could arguably be better than him in those matches. You just don't want to
Takes
do
two to
that. But
tango.
yeah.
Takes two to tango.
You are on a roll. Final Boss is trying to like marry me, I think. It's like he just is saying all the right things right now. Then we're moving on to
Let's go.
the New
Sara.
Day. So they lost to the War Raiders on Raw, and the awkwardness between the two of them continues. There was also another backstage segment with them where they were like yelling at each other and Gorilla
Go
and
fight your brother.
yeah, Jey Uso is trying to get involved and like clear things up and whatever. But then it has already been confirmed, I think, at least by PW Insider. I think they said that WWE is planning some sort of like event or whatever on or near the 10-year anniversary of the New Day, which you talked about. And it's funny because people are now talking about how that's probably going to be the day that they do something like where they split or whatever. And I'm like, welcome aboard, guys. Like, you're late to the party.
I'm not saying anything yet because I'm trying to stay humble and stay focused. You don't want to glow too early. We know what happens in that case. Falcons fans know what I'm talking about.
I love to watch those videos still. I'm sorry.
Oh, my favorite.
The
I'm
Super
not
Bowl,
gonna
well,
do it.
Super Bowl 49 is better, but
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say anything just yet. I'm just saying what has happened when I have talked about this in the past. It is all leading up to this. I don't know if it was Bernard or someone else on Twitter uh, that I saw. Is this going to be another festival of friendship like the KO Jericho? Because that that segment, I'm not gonna lie, when that happened, I didn't expect the turn. You
Mhm.
know, I didn't expect KO to turn on Jericho
Hello,
right
he
then
has a
and there.
pattern. Let's stop
No,
it.
because I mean, yeah, we learn as the student of the game, we learn these things. In this case, and with just everything in life, nothing is forever.
Yeah.
Okay. Only death and taxes and pro wrestling at this point is forever. We've seen breakups in the past. Every tag team breaks up. It's inevitable. Okay. And it only makes sense with how things are going, where they're trying to make it work. They're trying to get back to their old ways. And sometimes your old ways need to be cut loose. And it's just only appropriate that it ends at the 10-year anniversary.
Well, and it could be something where it's like they break up to make up. You know what I mean? Like, I
Sometimes
don't
you
know that
have
this
to.
would be long term just because of how long they've been together, but they did it with the Usos, you know? So that's what I'm saying. I feel that like no one thought that the Usos were ever going to break up or whatever. And it
No one ever
happened.
did.
Um, and even though they're not biologically related, obviously Kofi and Xavier have been together for 10 years now. So I do think that they'll probably have a falling out, but it'll be something that they like eventually get back together. And maybe that is a way that Big E gets involved. Like he's not involved physically, but he's involved of like trying to, you
To
know,
mend the friendship.
yeah, exactly. So the 10-year anniversary, I believe, is in December. So
Yeah.
okay, it's all it's the okay, the 25th. So, yeah, uh, at
Oh,
some point.
okay, okay. All right, everyone, just watch out. All right,
Um,
I'm not gonna get too cocky and whatnot. But I'm just saying, watch out.
Final Boss thinks that it'll be Kofi because it would be a swerve since everyone thinks they that's what I was saying. I was like, if they really want to try and
Final.
swerve people, it's gonna be Kofi. If they want to follow what they've already been setting it up, it's gonna be Xavier. It just depends on what direction they want to go in.
Who's been wearing all black the
I
entire
don't we're
time?
not saying you're
Who's the
wrong. We're just
one
saying it depends on the
been
direction that they want to go in.
throwing temper tantrums every week? It's like a
Calm
little
down.
child.
Is it because you want it to be Xavier, and if it's not, then you're like gonna have a fit?
No, because I called the breakup at the 10-year anniversary. That's the
Oh,
whole
okay.
thing. I'm just saying I'm reading what's in front of me. And if they don't, I'll be pissed off because it's not like it's been a swerve. It's just like, all right, then why are you having him do these things? You
Yeah,
know?
no, I get it.
Yeah, Dickie, you're so right. I want it.
That would be pretty significant too, especially when we were
Would
talking
be.
about Bianca versus Jade. Can you imagine those being like 2 of the matches?
Oh yeah, those would be incredible.
So since we briefly spoke about the Usos,
Oh,
there's
so
more drama ensuing between the Uso triplets. Um, and we saw a little bit of that fallout from Crown Jewel because in case you guys did not watch it, Sammy came out to try and help his brothers, and it ended up in him
poorly.
kicking Mr. Roman Reigns in the face.
The OTC. He kicked
Yeah,
the OTT.
and that was not perceived well
Fucking
by his
flashbacks.
brothers because it was like, oh my God, they thought he did it on purpose, which Jimmy was saying again on Raw. Jay was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because, of course, they didn't see it, which I think is so funny. I'm like, watch the footage, guys. You can tell that it was not on purpose. But if we're living in a world where we only watch like what happens, in front of us instead of watching the replay, then I guess the
Yeah.
Usos are just living that way. But clearly Jay wants to get something figured out because he knows that if they're going to take down the Bloodline 2.0, they're going to need Sammy's help. And Jimmy is just not interested. Jay is like, no, why don't you come to SmackDown? Like, we need to figure this out. Your family. And then he tries to get all sentimental and is like, no, Jimmy, he's family. Cause like, he's not blood, but like, he's our brother. And I'm just like, okay. So it looks like, yes, we are going to get the Sami Zayn with the team bloodline on SmackDown, just like everybody thought that it was going to be. I still like Cody Rhodes involved as well, but whatever. I I'm so torn on how I feel about this because I loved when Sami Zayn was a part of the bloodline. Like, I think that is some of the best stuff that WWE has done over the past few years.
Oh my god,
So
keep it going.
I love that it might go there, but it's going to be like it's a different direction this time, obviously, because attitudes are different and a lot has happened since then. So I'm intrigued by that, but I also am hoping that Triple H doesn't do it too long. Like, I think that they should have drawn out a bit more the Usos and Roman like reuniting and all of that. Like, I think that could have gone like an extra week before it was like, oh, I don't want to mess with you, and then next week you're like, yeah, I'll be your partner. That was too quick in my eyes. But I don't want to see this stuff with Sammy get drawn out too long, because that's when I start to check out, because you know that it's going to happen. So it's like the longer you draw it out, it's just kind of like, all right, like I'm bored because we know how this is
Yeah.
going to end, you know?
The bloodline story is not going away anytime soon.
No.
The only difference is there's going to be chapters, and you
Sammy's
have
not
to
in the
treat
family.
this.
Sammy's
Co-
not in the family.
yeah,
So what's your
yeah,
excuse for Sammy?
yeah. All right, Jay. It's like the point with this is that the bloodline story is going to be a focal part of wrestling for, I would say, a decade and change at this point. Right now, with what's going on currently with the OTC and the Usos, Sammy Uso, and then this rogue bloodline is just a chapter in this story. All right. And if you're bored of this chapter, well, too bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's better things ahead. I mean, look at what the bloodline is. I that The Rock posted it, put that family tree up. Like, that's the story of the bloodline. Okay. So that's not going away. But what's going away and how they're doing this whole Sammy integration and whatnot, it's all to build up for Survivor Series. Okay. It's all building up for the inevitable match that they need help. They're going down like that. That is just it's not going to be enough time. There's not going to be enough time where you're getting bored of it because they're not putting it in for too long. They're just trying to prove a point and continue the bloodline story and give it a chapter. So, like, the bloodline story, yeah, it's getting stale, whatnot, but it it's all building to something.
Well, because we know that this is just like one branch of the bloodline tree, right? Like,
Yes.
we know that more is going to happen at the Rumble and more is going to happen at the Elimination Chamber, all of which is going to lead to what happens at WrestleMania. And then whatever happens at Mania or doesn't happen at Mania is then going to go into Backlash and SummerSlam. So it's like there's a lot that is going to be coming from whatever is going on between now and next year. So whatever happens at Survivor Series is probably going to dictate how Royal Rumble goes and whatever all of them are doing. So it's like there's stuff to look forward to. I just hope that they get it, like, I hope it gets a little bit more interesting, because right now it's like I said, you already kind of feel like you know what the end game is going to be. You know Sammy will be on Team Bloodline. Like, there's not a whole lot that they can do to make you not believe that, you know? So it's just like, how do we get from point A to point B? Like, because I just kind of want to get to point B. And it's more so like when we're talking about Survivor Series, is it going to be 4-on-4? Is it going to be 5-on-5? And if it's 5-on-5, who else is going to join both of these teams? Which that makes it a little bit more interesting,
It did
because
seem, yeah.
is the Bloodline 2.0 going to bring in another Tongan? Are they going to bring in another Fatu? What are they going to do? So,
How many Tongans are there?
well, that's what I mean.
Where
So it's
are
like,
your
and then in
Tongans?
that case, what is the OTC bloodline going to do? Is it going to be a Cody Rhodes? Are they going to try and reach and get another family member to join them? Like, what is that going to be? So, like, there's definitely ways they can make it more interesting. It's just like right now, because now we're 3.5, almost 4 weeks away from Survivor Series. Like, it's going to be a little bit like iffy. I just don't want it to drag on too long. That's all.
Exactly.
Okay, well they can say Cody's family. That's the point I'm making. Like they can say Cody helped Roman
Cody won the undisputed tag team championship with Jey
with Jay.
Uso.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's this.
He's
This is the
in
other.
the family.
This is the other point. Sammy came out on Raw and he said the only reason why he was even out there was to make sure that his dog Jimmy or Jay was fine. That the only person he came out to care about that he cared about was Jay.
Exactly,
Okay,
which
well
makes
that's why I
it more
said
interesting.
the connection between Jay and Sammy is why Jay was reaching out to Sammy to see if he would come back to the bloodline because he's not cool with Roman and he's not cool with Jimmy. Same thing with Cody Rhodes. Like he's not cool with anyone but Jay. He put his stuff aside for what they had to do. When he partnered with Roman, but it could be easy for him to come in and be like, okay, we all have a common enemy and it's them. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with me. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm saying it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Anything is possible in the WWE.
Oh,
Just
Sammy. Oh, wait. Cody might miss Survivor Series because the schedule on Twitter, the date isn't there. That's possible.
you think Cody's missing Survivor Series?
He usually puts pay-per-views on those though, so that is interesting. That's something to keep in mind. It's definitely possible because obviously the War Games matches are going to be the main event. So, like,
Yeah. Even if The Rock
if they're
does
not going
come
to have the
back,
WWE
even
title,
more
like,
so.
because this is the thing. I'm fine with Cody or even Gunther, although I hate it with Gunther just because they even have him defended on Raw and they don't do that to Cody. But I'm fine with Cody missing something like Survivor Series because I don't want them to force a match on him just to put him on the card. You know what I mean? Like, this is why I said I think that we're gonna get Randy and Kevin at Survivor Series. That's why I was saying I don't think Cody will defend it at Survivor Series, and I think we got confirmation of that happening because Randy versus Kevin didn't happen at Crown Jewel. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna do that at Survivor Series, right? Because like we haven't even seen it, so they're gonna have to do it. And to me, that kind of rules out Cody doing anything because the obvious person that he could defend the title against is Kevin Owens. Why would they do that before they do Kevin versus Randy? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So it's definitely possible that he won't be there. They're not going to do a SmackDown versus Raw. I don't think
Not
they'll do
this
that.
year.
No.
One year they will. Not this
Yeah,
year.
just not now. They're not really at that point where they're like trying to get
They
the
don't need to
brands.
do it.
Yeah, they're not there.
You throw the brand as a safety net. You throw the brand as a safety.
So we see Chad Gable versus Dragon
Mini Kurt
Lee.
Angle, that's what he's trying to be.
And it was a really good match. I mean, it was a show stealer, just like we said that the triple threat for the US title at Crown Jewel was going to be the show stealer. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But I really am curious because Chad Gable has really fallen since this whole thing with Gunther ended, since the whole thing with the Wyatt Six ended, and almost like since they decided to put the Creeds and Ivy Nile in a group with him, it's like they're just not doing anything. And it makes me wonder what is their plan? Because they were treating him like, oh yeah, he was going to win the Intercontinental title. They were going to put him in like world heavyweight title like matches, or they put to be the number one contender. Like they were doing all this stuff with him, and now we're lucky if we even see him on Raw like once a month.
It's he's in that phase right now with legitimizing American Made, and he's stuck with them. And in that lull period, he's putting on matches like this, and it's great because then it does make him someone that's like, oh, he should be competing for the Intercontinental title or whatnot. It's just that weird phase right now where you're trying to get American Made over, not Chad Gable over.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sakes, look at their outfits, look at their tights, look at the singlet. It's basically, I felt last night I was watching another version or in another world, Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Dragon Lee is the future of Lucha Libre, Lucha Libre,
Or he should be. Yeah.
according to Rey Mysterio, that is the future of it. And you have Chad Gable, who, I mean, if you wanted to take a carbon copy with obviously the a personality out of it, you get Chad Gable. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So like they're doing their job in that sense where it's Monday Night Raw. You need to have two guys that can put on a stellar match in front of a live crowd and an entertaining one for the people watching at home. Those are guys that can do it. And it's the thankless job of the
Mhm.
roster. You
Mhm.
know, you're not going to get the most praise. You're not going to get the most love from the fans for being in that spot, but it's the job that needs to make the engine go. They will be rewarded at some point, but at this point, I'm entertained by them having matches like this
Mhm.
because when they get to that stage of facing a Braun Breaker, for the title,
And that I don't see that happening. Uh,
well, that's the thing. I don't see Dragon Lee being
no.
a legitimate contender right now, but if you give Gable a little bit longer to establish himself as, yes, pun intended, the alpha of American Made,
Mhm.
then I'm intrigued in seeing a Braun Breaker versus Chad Gable. Very intrigued.
Yeah, see, I agree. I was gonna say something like this, so that's why I just pulled up his comment. But he said that Richard thinks that Gable's push won't start until next year when the dynamic on Raw leans more babyface, and that he can see Gable taking out the Intercontinental Champion when a babyface wins it from Braun Breaker. Yeah, and that's the thing
Ooh,
is, I think that they're trying to push
Braun.
Braun as a bad guy, and they're trying to do the same with Gable, and so it's not a good time to put them against each other because you want to make sure that you want to make sure that they're both very established in that role before you put them against each other, because you don't want either of them to be cheered for, because then all of the work that you've done to try and make them hated it goes out the window. So
Exactly.
I do think that he'll win the Intercontinental title next year. It just is going to have to be, yeah, whoever wins it off of Braun Breaker. And
Like a
that
Jey
seems
Uso.
I,
Like seriously, like another.
maybe. I mean, I don't. We'll have to see if Jay goes back to SmackDown. That's the problem, though.
Ah,
Be-
he's made a
it
nice home for himself on Raw.
it just depends on what they're doing with the bloodline. That's the problem. That's why I said at like when we started talking about this, it's like it depends on how they're going to do the things with the bloodline, because they're going to have to address it at some point. That Jay is on both shows, because the whole point of having these separate
Brand
rosters is that
split.
you are on one show, and the only person or the only people that were going to be going back and forth were free agents, which I guess he could say that he's not tied to either, or if you were like the sole women's tag team champion, and like clearly that's neither of those things apply to him right now. I like him
Never.
being a free
Uh,
agent. I feel like that makes it um
for this storyline, I'm okay with
that's
it.
yeah. All right, and then we finish off Raw with the fatal four-way to name the number one contender to face Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. And I think this ended pretty predictably. I know that we all, well, not all of us, but some of us who are big fans of Daddy Dom, we were hoping that we were going to see that happen.
Thought we were gonna
But
see
instead, he was the one who got pinned by Damian Priest, who now has his rematch for the World Heavyweight title. And I I don't love it.
I
Um,
figured, yeah.
oh, but
I
but I'm kind of like split on it. Like, I don't love it simply because I'm just not interested. Like, I'm not.
you're Damian Priest is not your guy.
He's not my guy anymore.
He's
No.
not your guy.
No. But the thing is, I also like it because I think that this is a match where people could say there was a question mark next to it because of the
And
interference that helped
boom,
Damien lose.
there
Yeah,
it
so
is.
that's what I mean. Like, they need this to end cleanly. We need to see Damien lose cleanly. Like, I understand I loved what they did at SummerSlam, and I'm not taking anything away
We're
from
not taking
that.
anything away from
I
that.
wish that they could have done more with Finn versus Damien to make that moment more significant. Um, but it made sense at the time. So this feels like the same situation to me as like um Gunther versus Randy for like the King of the Ring thing. Like, they had to do Gunther versus Randy for the World Heavyweight title because too many
Yes.
people were going to be sitting there questioning it. And so I think that is why I'm like partially okay with it, because once this is over, Gunther can move on. And I think that part of it might also be because they were hinting at Punk getting into the world heavyweight title picture. Clearly that can't happen anytime soon because dude is on a break or doing whatever. So this
Dude
feels like
is
a good
healing.
way to fill that gap and accomplish this, this uneasiness around their match at SummerSlam.
I love. Oh, let me get my thoughts here. I loved how in the backstage interviews, everyone was complimenting each other in the match, and then there's Dom. Classic Dirty Dom heat. But the finish to the match, I really enjoyed because you knew Seth couldn't win. Put it that way. Like, you knew Seth couldn't win. He's
Yeah.
still feuding with Bronson. We saw that stare down a crowd
But he was
jewel.
still a good person to be in the match. Like, he was a credible
Great
person to be in it.
person.
Yeah.
No, we're taking away. That's
Yeah.
why I love the finish of this, because you need a legitimate person like Seth Rollins in the match.
Mhm.
You need a way to organically continue this feud he has with Bronson Reed. So
Mhm.
Bronson Reed gets involved in the match, not only takes out Seth Rollins, but takes out almost everybody,
Mhm.
which is perfect Bronson Reed.
Mhm.
And Dirty Dom slithering his way up on the top rope, hits with a frog splash, or tries to. And then Damian Priest comes in and hits the South of Heaven. Like
Mhm.
that's a good end to Monday, to a number one contender match for the World Heavyweight Championship, and to give you that false sense of feeling that Dom could actually win it. But that's what they're doing well with this. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, they built this up where Damian got the vindication. He pinned Dom. Like, it was very well done.
Yeah, and I think that because of the history between Damian and Dominic, that worked well to be at the end, and then Damian and Gunther having a history, like, at least that can get people to buy in.
Yes.
And I also think that this is an easy way for people to kind of like get on the Damian train again, because he's definitely been a guy that has not been featured as much since they went to 2 hours. And so
No,
if they
not.
want to try to get back to that level of love that he was getting from the fans, especially at the height of the Terror Twins stuff, then it makes sense for them to put him against a guy like Gunther for the title. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't love it, but if it weren't Damian right now, it's like, okay, who would Gunther be going after? If it, if Punk's not
Literally.
around, and like, who are the other options? It's like, all right, well, this is good enough for now. Like, as long as they can maybe start like a real proper storyline for him after this, because like, I want to see a real story, instead of him doing these like, oh, he had to do the crown jewel thing and he had to do the Randy match because of that. And then he only did the match with Damian because of the King of the Ring. Like, I really want to see him have like a true storyline after this. And I really hope that they'll do that. And obviously it would have to be someone that he's probably not going to deal with at Mania, which is fine, because I think that he can have like at least 2 more people between now and then. And Lanice, it would be great to see Dominic get a more push. I saw people talking about this too, that like Dominic has kind of been like a punching bag almost for Triple H, because he really doesn't win or do anything like at all, especially this past year. I think it's a fair argument.
Heat rises. That's all I'm gonna say.
So we'll see. Yeah, I mean,
Heat rises.
he's definitely on fire right now. So, we'll see. But anyway, that was Raw.
That was Raw.
It
That was a
was.
2-hour Raw. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll see a difference when Netflix comes back.
I know, it's like, how far are they going to push it? That's the thing that I'm curious about too, because they're not going to have the same guidelines as cable television. Like, language can be a little bit different.
Risque.
Yeah,
A little bit more
and the
risque.
storylines can be a little bit more that as well, or they can go longer, they can go shorter, they can, like, there's so many things that they can do. So I think we need to temper our expectations, because there's so many people that think that they're just going to come out on Netflix and start dropping F-bombs every week and doing
this
live
ain't
sex
AEW.
celebrations and whatever.
This ain't AEW.
But that's not going to happen. So I think that we also need to remember that the best of Netflix or of Raw on Netflix is probably not going to happen for a while. It's going to be like an adjustment. So it's probably going to be weeks or even months until it's like, oh, okay, this is what they wanted Raw on Netflix to be. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're just wait and find out for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we thank you guys for tuning into this edition of No Nights Off. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification to know every time we post a new video and go live. We go live on Thursday this week for the Super Show where we're talking everything. I mean, we got head to head AEW versus NXT tomorrow night because of the election tonight. So we'll be talking all about that. I mean, NXT and AEW. So and what else we got? Oh yeah, follow us on all social medias in the description below. And yeah, that's all we got. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you gotta do is try. See you on Thursday. Woo.